You slide into a new car, giant screen glowing, menus stacked 3 deep, buttons everywhere. And it feels more like a fragile tablet than a tool you can trust. The salesman brags about smart features, but those same tricks quietly kill reliability, spike repair bills, and crush resale the moment your warranty clock runs out. In this video, we walk through 23 features mechanics despise, what actually fails, what it costs, and what to avoid next time you buy. Number 23. Auto start-stop systems. Auto start-stop sounds smart on a sticker, but in real traffic, it is mechanical abuse dressed up as green progress. Every light the system kills the engine to save a little gas, then slams the starter, ring gear, and battery to drag it back to life. That means extra cycle counts, more heat, more wear, and more sudden load than older setups saw in commutes. Oil pressure falls each time the crank stops, so hot restarts begin with a DRI heartbeat before the pump builds flow, and those dry hits stack damage over the years. In our bays, we see start-stop cars chewing AGM batteries early and cooking starters, while the rest of the car looks reliable. The savings are pocket change, maybe dollars each year, wiped out by one premium battery or starter replacement. So this emissions feature serves automakers, not longer life for you. And the next feature can still let the car roll when you think it is parked. Number 22. Keyless entry and push-button start. Keyless entry and push-button start look premium in the showroom, but for reliable ownership, they are a quiet nightmare. The smart fob rarely sleeps. The car sits half awake listening for a signal, and that draw keeps modules alive and battery voltage low, even while parked. So short trips and cold weather turn into surprise. Dead mornings. Then there is theft. Relay gadgets let thieves grab the fob signal from your house and bounce it to the car, so it unlocks and starts without broken glass, and you step outside to an empty driveway and a sick feeling at home. When the fob dies or vanishes, you tow to a dealer, pay programming fees, wait on electronics, and hope the new unit stays reliable. In the end, keyless systems work great for thieves and warranty desks, not for long-term owners. And the next feature sits on the console and has sent cars rolling when drivers thought they were parked. If this is exposing real danger hiding in your own driveway, hit like and subscribe so more drivers hear the truth before they sign for the next feature pack. Number 21. Electronic gear shifters. Electronic shifters trade a mechanical lever for knobs, buttons, or toggles that talk to software instead of a link. And that is where reliability starts to slide. On a good day, the signal reaches the transmission sensor, but when contacts age or voltage dips, the system can miss a command and leave the car in the wrong gear. Drivers think they tapped park, step out, and the car creeps because the logic never locked the Powell, turning parking into safety drama. In our bays, we see cars stuck flashing PRND lights, locked in limp mode with no way to grab a mechanical gear, a tow truck, and a dealer scan follow. Fixes are not bushings and a driveway Jew. They are module swaps, reprogramming, and sometimes a shifter that costs money. A basic stick with a rod rarely strands you, but a plastic handle full of software can. And the next feature is a button that can clamp brakes and trap the car there. Number 20. Electronic parking brakes. Electronic parking brakes took a lever that worked for decades and shrank it into motors, cables, and modules that hate rust, voltage, and winter grime. Instead of a firm pull and mechanical feedback, you get a plastic button and a light, and you trust that the rear caliper's clamped. In salted climates, we see motors seize, cables corrode, and modules throw fault, so the brake either will not release or will not hold on a hill. Drivers park, tap the switch, hear a whir, and discover trouble when the car creeps or refuses to move. When those motors die, you are buying calipers, wiring, and diagnostic time, not a cable and minutes in the driveway, so repair bills climb. We have watched quotes to get a stuck car rolling out of a parking garage. Every time a mechanical lever turns into a button, you add an electronic failure point, and the next feature turned tires into an expensive way to end up on a flatbed. Number 19. Run flat tires with no real spare. Run flat tires sound safe on paper, stiff sidewalls that let you limp after a puncture, so you skip a roadside jack at night. In practice, they ride harsh, add noise, and send shock into suspension parts. So comfort and long-term reliability suffer. Those reinforced sidewalls do not like repairs, and many shops refuse to patch them because hidden damage is hard to judge once they have run low. Many cars that ship on run flats also lose a proper spare, so when a sidewall bubbles or a cut ruins the casing, You are not swapping rubber, you are calling a tow truck. Replacement sets are heavier, more expensive, and usually bought in pairs or a full set. So one nail can turn into an invoice and money gone. The trade is clear. You dodge roadside work but buy extra cost, noise, and tow rides. And the next feature deletes even that and hands you a can of goo instead. Number 18. Sealant kits instead of a spare. Sealant kits are the cheaper cousin of run flats, a compressor, and a bottle of sticky goo sitting where a spare and jack should live. The brochure sells them as modern and simple. Hit a button, feed in the sealant, air it up, and roll away. Relieved. In life, a sidewall cut, bent rim, or puncture laughs at that liquid bandage. The tire will not hold, and you still end up on the shoulder. That sealant can foul TPM SSENSORS, coat the casing, and turn what could have been a patch into a full TIRE and censor REPLACEMENT that costs MONEY. Many shops hate dealing with sealant-filled tires and charge extra to clean before they work. This is not a safety upgrade. It is a cost-cutting trick that leaves you helpless for flats that strand people. And the next feature hides the damage inside the engine instead of the trunk. Number 17. Cylinder deactivation systems. Cylinder deactivation sounds smart on the brochure, but in real traffic, it is a reliability gamble inside your engine. Automakers shut a few cylinders off on cruise so they can brag about better miles per gallon and lower emissions, but that trick leans on special lifters, oil passages, and control logic that cycle on and off under load. When those lifters stick half collapsed, you get ticking, misfires, and lobe damage on the cam before most owners really notice a rough idle. We have seen trucks roll in near 60,000 miles with dead lifters, metal in the oil, and a top end that looks tired instead of strong. The fix is not cheap. You are buying lifters, gaskets, bolts, a cam, sometimes a short block when debris goes everywhere. And the bill climbs into 4-digit pain. If you want a long life truck, fewer gimmicks in the valve train keep things reliable. And the next saver trick lives in the piston rings instead. Number 16. Low-tension piston rings. Low-tension piston rings are the friction trick that turns into long-term damage for drivers who just want reliable miles. Engineers shaved ring thickness and spring force so pistons glide with less drag and on a test cycle that gives better miles per gallon and nicer emissions charts. In real traffic, those thin rings do not seal tight. Oil sneaks into the chamber, and you burn clean fluid that should have stayed in the pan. Carbon builds on ringlands, rings stick, and suddenly that normal use is a quart every tank. We see engines with decent compression on paper, but dirty plugs, heavy deposits, and dipsticks that drop fast between fills. Some platforms earned rebuild programs because the ring design, not owner abuse, filled the exhaust with blue haze. Topping up forever is not maintenance. It is slow failure, and low drag rings belong in race engines, not family cars. While the next fuel trick bakes carbon where you cannot pour cleaner. And tell us in the comments which modern feature has already cost you money. Those stories help other owners dodge the same mistake. Number 15. Direct injection only gasoline engines. Direct injection only gasoline engines look modern on spec sheets, but inside they are slow carbon machines that chew on reliability. Instead of spraying fuel over the valves and washing them clean, the injectors shoot straight into the chamber, leaving valve backs to bake in hot soot and oily vapor. Over tens of thousands of miles, sticky buildup chokes airflow. Rough idle shows up, misfire codes pop, and cold starts turn into long crank and stumble, while owners dump cleaner in the tank that never touches the mess. The cure for bad platforms is to tear down work, intake off, valves exposed, and walnut blasting. We have seen Euro and Japanese engines that skip port injectors come in with thick carbon blankets, while the bottom end still felt strong. The best long-term setups mix port and direct to stay clean, but pure DI motors carry the worst buildup risk, and once you bolt a turbo on that package, the stress climbs faster. Number 14. Small big boost turbo engines in heavy cars. Small big boost turbo engines in big crossovers look great on a window sticker, but long-term reliability pays the price. Automakers stuff 1.4 or 1.5 liter turbo motors into heavy bodies so they can claim big miles per gallon from a tiny block. Then owners load kids, cargo, maybe a trailer. To keep up, that little turbo runs hot, oil bakes in the housing, and feed lines coke up until flow drops and bearings see damage. The engine runs higher cylinder pressure more often, engine, so rods, pistons, and chains all live under extra stress just to do commutes. In our bay, we see stretched chains, noisy tensioners, and worn turbos on engines that should still feel reliable. Every added cooler, hose, and intercooler clamp is another leak, another failure, another expensive Saturday. A relaxed, larger engine at low boost usually lives longer than a tiny one flogged daily, and the next gearbox came from tracks and hates traffic. Number 13. Dual clutch transmissions in commuter cars. Dual clutch transmissions in commuter cars promise sporty shifts and better miles per gallon, but the real story is heat, shudder, and expensive repairs. Inside, you have manual guts with 2 clutch packs, actuators, and a module guessing gears. In perfect condition, they rip through gears quickly, but in stop-and-go traffic, they hunt, slip, and chatter like a student driver on a hill. Dry units bake clutch material, wet units shear fluid, and every software update is supposed to fix the last jerk. We have watched small sedans roll in with low miles, hot clutch smell, and owners convinced the engine was failing when the real damage lived in the gearbox. Repair is not just a clutch kit, it is mechatronics, programming, and sometimes a replacement that rivals a solid automatic rebuild. Dual clutches can be great on-track toys, but daily drivers pay the reliability price, and the next transmission often cannot handle a hill and a hot day. Number 12. Cheap CVT units in bigger vehicles. Cheap CVT units in bigger vehicles are the mileage hack that trades smooth brochures for real-world failure. A CVT uses a belt or chain between variable pulleys, so the engine sits in a narrow RPM band and squeezes out better miles per gallon, which looks great on tests. In small, light commuters, it can survive, but bolt the same box into a heavy crossover, add hills, heat, and family weight, and that belt lives a rough life. Fluid shears, metal shavings show up in the pan, and you start to hear whine that turns into slip when pulleys cannot clamp hard. Many cheap CVT designs are not rebuilt in normal shops. They are swapped, whole unit, after diagnosis. Owners see quotes that match older automatic rebuild jobs, and some brands stretched lifetime fluid intervals that sped up damage. CVT can work in small cars. In big rigs, it often dies early. And next, we hit cooling parts that quit without leaks. Number 11. Plastic cooling and engine hardware. Modern engine bays are full of plastic cooling parts that seem smart and turn expensive in real heat. Thermostat housings, coolant tanks, connect necks, and timing guides holding chains in place. Heat and pressure beat on that plastic every drive. It goes brittle, sealing lips warp, and a crack can dump hot coolant onto belts, sensors, and wiring before you smell trouble. We have watched expansion tanks pop in traffic, intake pieces leak coolant into cylinders, and guide material crumble, so chains slap and chew into soft plastic instead of sitting reliable on rails. The cheap part on the invoice hides the cost. Labor to pull covers, mounts, and brackets to reach one brittle neck or tank buried under hoses. Ignore the leak and that coolant loss turns into warped metal, cooked gaskets, and engine damage on a hot climb. Plastic has a place in cabin comfort and trim. It should not be the only barrier between pressure, heat, and your wallet. Number 10. Electric water pumps. Electric water pumps sound modern and efficient, but they create sudden, expensive overheating when the little motor or control module quits without warning. Instead of a belt that squeals and a weep hole that drips coolant, you get a pump that stops moving flow, the temp light jumps, and your engine is cooking by the time you pull over. We see this on many Euro setups where the electric pump is almost a service item, failing earlier than a solid belt drive and dragging thermostats and wiring with it. The parts bill lands in the high hundreds. Labor is ugly, and if you miss that hot warning, warped heads and gasket damage can turn it into a full motor job. One simple mechanical pump usually gives noise and leaks before it dies. An electric pump can go from working to finished in one trip. If you own one, treat the pump age like a timing belt and plan sensible replacement before it strands you somewhere. Number 9. Air suspension and adaptive dampers. Air suspension looks like pure comfort on the lot, smooth ride, level stance, and fancy height control, but under the body it is rubber, plastic, and electronics ready to fail. You have rubber airbags that dry out and crack, lines that leak, height sensors that drift, and a compressor that works tired trying to keep a sagging corner level. We see cars roll in sitting low on one side after a cold night, the pump running constant until it burns, or a bag blowing on a pothole and dropping the truck onto the bump stops. Each corner can run $800 to $1,500 between parts and labor, and full swaps push owners into coil conversions to get a reliable ride back. That luxury feel is new today, but years of salt and heat turn that comfort into an expensive habit. If you do not need adjustable height, a coil and shock setup keeps you driving while systems ride tow trucks. Number 8. Panoramic glass roofs. Panoramic roofs look premium in the showroom. Huge sheet of glass, sky above, instant comfort vibe. But every extra seam and drain is one more expensive leak path once the weather hits. Instead of a simple steel panel and a manual track, you get long glass bonded with adhesive, tiny drains that clog, and moving parts that fight dirt, heat, and body flex every mile. We have seen headliners soaked after a storm, moldy carpets, and owners told the fix is a new glass panel plus seals and labor that add up fast. A crack from a rock or stress can turn into a 4-figure repair, and on some models that panel is considered structural, so junkyard swaps are not always safe. Glass also traps heat, baking interiors and making the AC work harder all summer while plastics fade. If you care about longer life and quieter cabins, a boring steel roof is the reliable long-term choice, not the one in glossy ads. If you want a car that stays reliable instead of turning into a rolling science project, like and subscribe now. Number 7. Rain-sensing wipers. Rain-sensing wipers sound smart at the dealer. A sensor does the work, and you relax. But once weather turns real, they often add chaos instead of comfort. A little mist can trigger frantic wiping on dry glass. Heavy spray sometimes gets nothing, and glare, dirt, or a chip can confuse the sensor, so it guesses wrong at bad moments. Drivers end up poking stalks and watching streaks instead of traffic, all because a simple intermittent knob was turned into a fragile electronic helper. On many cars, the rain module lives in the windshield, so a crack or rock hit can mean new glass, calibration window, and a bill that feels expensive for something wipers once did with no drama. If the sensor fails, you lose auto wipe and sometimes normal control until the module is fixed, which means more labor and more chances for damage at trim panels. A basic intermittent setup is cheap, reliable control. The smart version mostly sells brochures, not safety. Number 6. Overactive driver assist suites. Modern driver assist packages promise extra safety, but when they get jumpy, they add stress, warning chimes, and steering nudges that do not feel under control. Lane keep can tug the wheel on faded lines. Adaptive cruise can brake brutal for harmless shadows, and auto braking can slam on because a sensor sees trash or a pothole. Owners ask us to dial these helpers back because they feel like a nervous backseat driver, beeping and grabbing instead of letting a reliable human steer. Every radar, camera, and control module lives in bumpers or glass, so a tap or cracked windshield can mean calibration window and expensive diagnostics where it used to be body service. Repairs run high because racks and scan tools must talk to the system before lights clear, and you cannot ignore warning icons forever. If driver aids have already braked or steered at the wrong moment, tap like and subscribe, because the next charging setup punishes your battery and alternator. Number 5. Variable smart charging systems. Smart charging sounds clever until it quietly ruins battery life. These systems let the alternator float voltage and trim output to chase tiny fuel savings instead of holding a steady, healthy charge. In real traffic with short trips, heaters, and lights on, that means chronic undercharge, weak voltage, and modules that stay half awake instead of fully sleeping. We see batteries that test fine one day and fall on their face the next, plus random gremlins that vanish after a proper full charge from an old school charger. On the bench, the alternator looks reliable. In the car, it keeps the battery tired and confused. Shops throw sensors and starters, owners throw money, and the root problem is often the smart charging map that never fills the reserve. For long-term reliability, you want simple, strong charging that tops the battery full instead of letting it limp half empty. Fancy voltage tricks are great for lab numbers, not for a family car doing school runs in real weather. If that much software runs your alternator, wait until the whole car updates itself like a phone while you sleep. Number 4. Over-the-air software updates. Over-the-air sounds modern until one bad update leaves a reliable car sitting dead in the driveway. Instead of a mechanic flashing modules on a known setup, your car pulls code through Wi-Fi or cell and rewrites brains while you drink coffee. When it works, you never notice. When it glitches, you lose audio, cameras, drive modes, or the car drops into limp safety and refuses to move. We have seen owners wake up to frozen screens, missing features, and warning lights across the cluster after an update sold as small. On paper, it lets car makers patch bugs without recalls. In real driveways, it can brick a module and strand a family in silence. Out of warranty, the bill to reflash or replace an infotainment or gateway unit can hit 4 figures, and you pay for their digital learning curve with real money. You did not sign up to beta test brake, logic, or steering steering calibration, but that is where many modern cars live now. Code still breaks. Number 3. Touchscreen-only core controls. Touchscreen everything looks futuristic until the panel freezes and you lose basic comfort in real traffic. On these cars, the glass runs HVAC, drive modes, even wipers and lights, all buried in multi-step meanness instead of sitting on simple knobs. One cold morning, the panel boots slowly, the backlight is dim, and you are stabbing tiny icons just to hit defrost while the windshield fogs and trucks close in distance. If the display cracks, loses power, or the software locks, your vent sits stuck, your heater stays cold, and even fan speed can be trapped on high. A physical knob gives muscle memory. You can reach and twist without stealing eyes from the road. And it rarely needs a firmware update. A dead touch stack can mean a full head unit replacement, coding, and alignment with security modules, all to fix what one cheap switch used to handle reliably. When the tablet in the dash goes dark, the whole car feels broken even if the engine is strong. All of that input then feeds bigger, smarter modules that turn one glitch into a full electrical meltdown. Number 2. Over-integrated body and gateway modules. Modern cars stack wiring into big body and gateway modules that run locks, windows, wipers, lights, charging, and even start logic in one box. That saves harness weight for the automaker and loads risk on you because water leaks, voltage spikes, or one bad solder joint can knock out half the car in one moment. We see cars that lose interior lights, power mirrors, and keyless entry in a single hit because the body module got damp under the dash or kick panel. Others roll in with no crank and no headlamps because the central gateway stopped talking to the ignition switch and fuse box at the same time. The module itself is expensive, but the real pain is programming, security codes, and sometimes new keys or clusters just to make everything talk again. A simple circuit used to pop a cheap fuse. Now one soaked body brain can pull half the car offline. When one chip decides to retire, half your features go dark and the car feels haunted. Number 1. Feature overload trim packages. The worst feature is not a single gadget. It is the loaded trim that crams every fragile system into one shiny payment. You get a tiny big boost, turbo, cylinder deactivation, low tension rings, full driver assist, giant screen, air suspension, glass roof, keyless entry, variable charging, and over-the-air updates stacked on the same chassis. On the showroom floor, it feels luxury. 10 winters later, it feels like a rolling warranty claim with a new warning every season. We see base models with simple springs, steel roofs, port-injected engines, and real knobs roll past 200,000 miles with normal maintenance. Their loaded twins show up with DI carbon, start-stop starter wear, air leaks, module failures, and cracked panoramic glass before 100,000. Once the warranty ends, informed buyers avoid those trims. Resale falls hard, and the original owner eats the cost of every broken trick. A simpler spec with proven motor, normal trans, and fewer gadgets often lives longer, rides quieter, and sells easier. The single most dangerous feature is believing more tech automatically means better car instead of more points of failure. The pattern and how to buy smarter. When we step back, the pattern is simple and a little ugly. Most of these dangerous features chase test cycle MPG, showroom flash, or subscription revenue, not long-term reliability for real drivers. Complexity is not evil, but complexity with no mechanical backup, buried in heat, moisture, and vibration, becomes a time bomb for your wallet. Every extra motor on a brake, every plastic tank near exhaust, every shared module that runs systems is one more failure point hiding from view. When you shop, favor proven engines without deactivation tricks or low tension ring gimmicks, even if the window sticker MPG looks smaller. Choose torque converter automatics or well-reviewed manuals over cheap DCT and stressed CVT in heavy vehicles. Pick steel roofs, coil springs, real knobs, and basic charging where the options list lets you say no. If you already own this tech, keep recalls current, budget for preventive service, and fix warnings before they snowball into damage so the car feels reliable at 250,000 miles. The features you skip matter more than the paint color. Click the next video where we show the real habits that aid years to your car and keep your wallet calmer.